was a typo, and I'm like, welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared, and today we are going to be discussing how to make a Wonder Woman game. As a follow-up to last week, I would shout out to NJ for recommending this topic. So here's the thing. Here's how I'm going to start off. When it comes to like characters that need games, Wonder Woman is the character that really needs a game, and honestly has the name cachet that she can support a game. Because obviously, here's the thing. As well, a lot of comic book fans don't really understand about like saying, "Oh, we want a blank. We want this. We want this." What that kind of what you don't exactly end up doing right is like, and Sam Liu said this when he came on my show. It was basically he explained that like, yeah, fans keep saying, oh, we want a Zatanna movie, we want a John Constantine movie, but when the movie is made, they don't show up. So, but luckily, Wonder Woman is the character that 110%, I say, can support her own video game. And deserves it, really. She really does deserve it because she is, like, obviously she's my favorite DC character. You guys all know that at this point. But she is one of those characters that I think really deserves, obviously, more respect than she gets. But then again, this is DC we're dealing with and that type of stuff. And plus, there is the situation concerning the contract. So I realize that it's complicated. However, I still say DC definitely should put in more of an effort to make sure that this awesome character is properly represented. Because it's like, I'm like, wait a minute. If you're going to call her the third member of the Trinity, what? Wait, if you're going to call the third member of the Trinity, why the F do you not give her content? Because it's like, Batman, I get that, like, Batman and Superman have done that, but, and here's the thing, again, with the contract, it's like, then put in more of an effort, maybe even renegotiate. Hey, what's up, Cameron? Maybe even put in more effort, renegotiate the treaty. There's any number of ways that you can do this so you can properly represent this character. Because again, Wonder Woman deserves a video game. I don't think anyone here is going to like doubt that. I don't know why my thing is kind of stuttery. All right, and now we're back. But the big issue that I really have here is like, remember, we were going to get one from Monolith that was going to use like the Nemesis system and such. And I said long ago, like a year ago, that if that game had come out, it would have done for Wonder Woman now what the 2017 movie did for her in 2017, because Wonder Woman was a big character. She wasn't as big as she was mainstreamized until after that. Cameron says the Wonder Woman contract has always confused me because by telling DC that they can't make merch of her effective holding back, it's not merch. It's they can't. It's like the Marstons, I think, have to approve stories for everything other than comics, and I'm like, okay. But it was interesting, Cameron. That's why. So DC brought that argument to the Marstons around the time of the DCEU, and that's how we were able to get her in Batman versus Superman, Justice League, and that's essentially how we got that. Because otherwise the contract stated that she has to be a prominent. She has to be like the lead of the thing, and we're like, that may work for storylines like League of One or such, but it doesn't work for every single storyline. It just doesn't. And it's like, I think DC even told the Marstons, hey, you're holding the character up. She's not going to be able to like appear in other stuff other than Wonder Woman movies. So there's that. Now, the way to do it, and again, assuming that you could get um the contract, let's assume the contract is not an issue, like that you can do whatever you want, it's not going to be an issue. What you do in that case is, okay, let's do with gameplay elements first. I think that what you really, she could have been a huge lead if Donna was able to get young, that too. So so the way I would start off, Cameron, in chat, is in terms of gameplay, I believe that's what we started with last time, is, okay, I would borrow a ton from the Assassin's Creed Odyssey game because, like I've said before, when you get the Amazon armor in that game, it turns into a Wonder Woman game. And a pretty dang good one at that, because it's filled in with Greek mythology, and it obviously the female protagonist looks and sounds like Diana, and it has like big battles and like stealth gameplay and stuff. So it's really cool. And plus, you kind of are playing as a superhuman in that in some ways. But so I'd say use that as like the basis. Obviously, you can maybe add in like flight depending on how big the map is. Because if the map is like Themyscira, as it was going to be in the game for Monolith, I mean, I was going to say have like the flight as well as the boost system from Superman Returns, but I don't think the flight system's fine. I don't think you should have the boost, because the boost, you'll go right to another from one core of the map to the other in like 2 seconds, and that'll be very anticlimactic. So when you get to that, that's why I'm like, either make the map ginormous, which the Themyscira would have to practically be a continent in order for that to work, which, by the way, not in favor of. Or you could just roll with like a small-ish island and just use the regular speed flight. You could do that, and you know what? At that point, that would actually work really well for her in terms of speed and stuff. And in terms of, let's see, in terms of as we apply to, okay, it's best to show her speed of Hermes, speed less than hers. I know, NJ. See, that's why I'm like, but she should be able to fly it fast. It's just depending on the size of the map from a gameplay wise, you're gonna go zipping. Like, it's gonna make traveling practically nothing. However, yeah, you should be able to do that. So I definitely understand that, and you do have a very, very, very good point. And honestly, again, assuming everything lines up, yeah, go ahead and do the speed of Hermes, or at least like you can have her have like a fury of punches where she like goes full on, or like her deflecting with bullets. Make it like in Zack Snyder's Justice League, where she's like deflecting it super fast, and you could like go with that and go with the speed of Hermes. But there's any number of like ways that you could roll with that. But as for like, as for combat, again, I say what you could do, have like an RPG system. What I mean by that is, don't have like gear score and stuff, because that's like annoying as hell. But have it where you can choose to have I would make this game as much about player choice as possible, because if you do that, questions like, should Wonder Woman date an Amazon, or should Wonder Woman date Superman if he makes a cameo in the game, that's left up to the player. Same thing with the lasso versus sword and shield. Although I do say I think that what happens, your primary weapon is the lasso, but you always have the sword and shield on your back, so that if that's like for all your like really heavy attacks. Yeah, like Mass Effect. So it's like if you're fighting like light enemies or like enemies that don't really warrant a sword and the shield, you're just using the lasso and her fists. When you're fighting like, let's say, a boss battle or like a Minotaur or like Cersei, you'd break out the sword and the shield. So that way, like I've said many times on all my shows, it's all about proportion to the threat. That's the thing. I'm not against Wonder Woman having a sword and shield, as well as I'm not against her using the lasso, because there's uses for both. It's just, does DC go too far in either direction? Hell yes. Do I like that? Hell no. So I would really make it more of a situational thing. And then in terms of of which characters I would include, obviously the Wonder Girls, and you could have it where like, should they be AI teammates? I mean, see, here's the thing: if we had like the other three, if this were a 4-player co-op game, you could make it where the other 3 players play as the Wonder Girls, and they could still have like all your customizable armor and stuff and weapons and such. It's just it's Donna, Cassie, and Yara. Obviously, Trinity is not a factor in this because if I ran Wonder Woman, Trinity would be retconned to holy hell and out of continuity. But because that way you can have great interaction with the Wonder Girls, you can highlight the Wonder Girls, and then that way you again encourage co-op, encourage replayability, and you can even make it where like each Wonder Girl character has like different skills, or maybe at the beginning of each play session you can choose who you play as. Like I could choose to play as Diana or Cassie or Yara and stuff. Each have their own special abilities, and then if you're co-op before the like game session starts, it takes you a character selection screen where you each claim a character. As if her cast should be, all of her cast should be in there. Although I would, yeah, old Steve, absolutely. Perez is the model for everything I do with Wonder Woman. Like, even if I wrote the comics, it would be Perez, period. You make it so, like, she has never dated Steve, never shown any interest in dating Steve. We're done with dating Steve. But what you could do is make it so, again, you can make that like a romance system, like in Mass Effect, where like you could have it where like Superman shows up and he's like briefly part of the game, and if you want her to romance him, you can, or if you want her to romance Artemis, you can. Just leave it up to the player. Because here's the thing, that way you don't have to make a statement, you don't have to take a stance on either side. Just say, no, we left it up to you. There you go. If you wanted to do that, that's you. That is your it's not your problem, but it's like I'm saying it's not our problem. In other words, it's not our like issue. It's not our like decision. It's yours, because there's so much debate around the character, and you could have that be in there. Like it's just the choice of the player. Just do that, and then because if she's a warrior, she would be able to fight on her like decision. Now, in terms of costumes, Cameron says now the big thing would be with this being the own gaming universe. Let Wonder Woman not have to be propped up by the Arkhamverse or by anything Batman. Let it be its own thing, because because until they come out with another Batman game that takes place after Suicide Squad, I don't want. See, here's the thing. I don't want it to be in the Arkhamverse for many different reasons. Number one, because I don't want Wonder Woman tied to Batman. 2, Wonder Woman dies, so I already know no matter what the outcome of this game, I know where it's leading to. So I would just say it's safer just to have it be its own separate thing, because that way you don't even have to abide by Arkham canon at all. What you could even do, what I just realized, in terms of Zeus and Clay origin, in the beginning, like how Mass Effect lets you like customize like your background if you're just booting up the game. Like in Mass Effect Legendary Edition, what they do is that if I were to just start a new game in Mass Effect 3 without playing the other 2, they give you like a motion comic like thing where you can make the key choices from each game. So what I would do is have it where like as you're starting off, it gives you the option. Do you want Zeus origin or Clay origin? And each gives you like special bonuses. Like Zeus origin gives you like special lightning attacks and such. But again, leave all these debates to the player, because that way you don't have to piss anyone off. You can go, no. We did our playthrough did the Zeus origin, but you could do the Clay origin if you want. There you go. And again, obviously, this game is a pipe dream, but I'm just saying, free of all restraints, you could do this. And in terms of like side characters that you could chat with, that would be Julia and Vanessa, obviously. I wouldn't have Vanessa be Silver Swan. I would go with the other Silver Swan. Antagonist, Cheetah. I would use Barbara Minerva, Cheetah, because that's the one that people know because of the movie. The main villain... Actually, the main villain is Cersei. I would keep that because she is one of those. Or... See, I would say Grail, but then, well, no, Grail can be a sub. Well, here's the thing: Grail would not be a. Okay, what you could do is have it where it's Grail is like temporary. Yes, Cersei, exactly. Cersei is the leader, but she's always butting heads with Grail to the point where Grail betrays Cersei, so Cersei has to team up with Diana to fight Grail. So you could do that. And okay, so what else? In terms of where this game takes place, just have it be on Themyscira, really. I mean, you could have like flashback levels or like DLC take place in like Boston, maybe the Justice League headquarters. And I would definitely have a hub world where you can like explore, maybe buy gear. There'll be no microtransactions. I want to be clear on this. They should introduce Artemis in the game. Oh, yeah. Artemis would be in the game because she would be like a playable character. Not playable character, but like a side character that you could like team up with or call in for like a support. And so I would do that. Let's see. What else would I do for a Wonder Woman game? In terms of like... In terms of some DLC you could do is recreate like famous Wonder Woman moments. Oh, yes. Absolutely gigantic. So the villain team. Oh, here you go. For protagonist characters, 4 villains. The 4 protagonists are Wonder Woman and the Wonder Girls. And NJ, great idea. Cersei, Grail, Giganta, and Dr. Psycho. And okay, where's that put Cheetah? You kind of have to include Cheetah, though. I'll tell you what. Cheetah will be like the like tutorial boss that you fight, and then she goes to jail. That's what you do. That way you included Cheetah, and you're done. Because my goal with this game, because video games have such a massive audience because of the size of the industry, I would expose as much of Wonder Woman's world as possible. Because that way you're showing people that she has a great support cast. She has great villains. She has great this. She has great that. Don't forget about Don. No, I did Don J. I did it in the beginning. But you want to include as much of the Wonder Woman world as possible, so that when like much larger actually, let me see this. Cameron says, I was about to say Cheetah can be our first fight when we boot up the game. Yeah. She is an overused character, so I would just give her like a break, but have her be like the tutorial boss. And then it's like, if you don't want to have her be the villain, you could have it where like she's mind controlled by Grail or just some. The point is, she is the first villain that we fight when we like the first mission. Now, in terms of costumes, let's talk about costume and looks that we could use. I would go. Cersei can be a victim of Cersei, and you can save her by being convinced her to free her control. You can do that too. That's totally fine. You could definitely do that. I'm fine with that. So, in terms of costumes, now while I do like the idea of having an armor system, I do also like. I'm more to the opinion, and this was one of my many problems with Injustice 2. What I want to do is, instead of having like individual pieces of armor that you can get, just have DLC costumes like skins. So Donna Troy, you could have the galaxy suit thing, or you could have like the armor. Cassie, you could have the classic look from the John Byrne run. Wonder Woman, you could have New 52, DCEU, whatever James Gunn does. Post-Crisis, Gods and Monsters, the Golden Eagle armor, whatever you want to do. In terms of like other costumes, I mean, so Yara only has one costume so far. And in terms of that's how we do the costume. In terms of Wonder Woman voice actress, I would use the actress for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because here is the thing about her. She really does a Greek accent really well. And as you guys have heard many times, hey, what's up, Sean? My day is going great. How's your day? So as you guys know, with me, when it comes to Wonder Woman, I prefer for Wonder Woman to have like an accent, because she's coming from Greece / the Mediterranean, somewhere in that region. So she should have like an accent from that region, I think. So it only makes sense. So I was like, that's why I do that. And that's, again, the reason why I say that like the voice actress for Assassin's Creed Odyssey is like perfect, because she does that remarkably well. And just watch any cutscene of Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and that is Diana. That's the way I kind of hear Diana when Britt and I are writing Shelterverse stuff, when I'm reading a comic and stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff there. In terms of like storyline, I would go with the storyline of the original game, where it's like Wonder Woman. Okay, wait, it can't. Oh, wait. What about Dr. Poison? How would you use her? Like maybe I wouldn't use her, but I would use her. What I mean by that is like maybe the some enemies are using like weapons enhanced by Dr. Poison. Like she and Veronica Cale, like the financier that are like that are partly beyond, that are like financing this invasion of Themyscira. Like they provide the army for Cersei and Grail to use. So then what you get is, okay, what do I want to say? Okay. As for the story, I would keep the original game story, where it's like Themyscira is attacked, Wonder Woman has to return, and then what you could do is you could do a beach landing with the Amazons, and then what you could actually do is there was a system. Yes, exactly. NJ, Veronica Cale is 100% a must for this game. She needs to be there in some way. What you could do, there was this game that came out around the time the Xbox One came out called Rise, Son of Rome. And what you could do is form like a phalanx with the shields. And what you could do in our game, so you can like, it can Rocksteady make a Wonder Woman game. No, I'm not exactly thinking of who would make it. I'm more in line with like what the game would look like. So you could do is make it like straight up 300, where like they're assaulting, and then it's like they're taking gunfire and like arrow fire, and the Amazons just like have their shields together as Diana directs troops. So you can have some light strategic elements. So and then what's kind of cool is that the segments where she starts like, where it basically turns into an RTS, is called Wisdom of Athena, because Athena's obviously the smartest one, where she has to use speed. It's the speed of Hermes and stuff. So in other words, this is how you introduce to people that like Wonder Woman is blessed by all these different gods as well. So you can kind of roll with that. And then essentially it all culminates in a last battle. I did also really like in the description that was there for the Wonder Woman Monolith game, you could like redeem people like with the Lasso of Truth. I would factor that in, because that way, like NJ said in the beginning, you could like redeem Cheetah. Oh yeah, Hippolyta and Philippus would definitely be the action. She'd be like directing the Diana to where she needs to go, telling her, hey, these Amazons need support. Obviously, as you walk around the palace, because the palace is going to be the hub world, you as you walk around the palace, you can actually like see, like meet all the really important Amazons that have shown up in the comics, like Io, like what's the word, like Artemis and such, because it's like that way they're all there, Philippus, Nubia and such. And that way we again introduce people to as much of her world as possible, because that's what the game is supposed to do. Yes, exactly. Maximum like exposure of the Wonder Woman like IP, because that way, again, when people pick up the Wonder Woman game, because you gotta understand, when it gets to video gaming, that's a gargantuanly larger audience when it comes to than comic books. And when you and that's an effective way to mainstream Wonder Woman more. She had this when the 2017 movie came out, but because there wasn't enough content coming out for her in the interim, there wasn't a lot. So that's why I say I hesitate to say this, but cram as much crap as you can get in there, which you introduce a sense of Themyscira. What you could do is have them be like a side quest in the game, where if you rescue them, they then augment your army. So it's not necessarily like you have to do it, but it's a side quest. It's Octavia. So again, I would really lean into the strategic nature of this game, because if you make a Wonder Woman game so like a hybrid adventure / RTS game, you could really weigh in on Diana. And then what you could do, you could have these segments where like Diana goes full god mode, like she takes off the gauntlets. This could even be a bonus like power if you use the Zeus origin, the game that you can take off your gauntlets and then just plow through like an army of enemies for like a certain amount of time. So so you could do that. And then what else? Okay, speaking of side quests, would you bring in the first? No, I wouldn't. He's only been introduced in the new 52, and no one's really brought up. I wouldn't, because he's not really like that big of a Wonder Woman character. In my opinion, Arthur and Mara should make a cameo and join an important mission in the story. Yeah, I could do that. Like maybe she swims down to Atlantis to get Arthur's help in stopping like more reinforcements from coming on the island, so you can like homage that. And then Clark shows up because Apollo starts screwing with people, and then you can homage Superman Wonder Woman issue 2, and this is when you can hint at like if they have a relationship. And then I would still have the characters in the hub world, because we could do like in Mass Effect, you could do side quests for each character, like for lack of a better term, earn like loyalty with them, and then you can romance them if you want, like with Superman and such. And then like who you romance affects certain parts of your ending and stuff. So there's that. So that's again how I would handle like all of that, because that way you don't necessarily have to exclude anyone. Hey, can you see my league question? Because I was wondering about that league question. Where is that? Oh. So how would you explain why the league isn't helping her? Because fans will bring that up. What you could do is have it where, okay, some of the Justice Leaguers were there, like Superman, Aquaman, Mara, and such. But when Cersei invaded, or like, oh, actually, I need to put the banner back up. I don't know why I didn't do that. When Cersei invaded, she put like a magical dome over the island that's preventing reinforcements from getting in. So it's like that way the league is trying to get in, but like they're being kept out. And then what you could do is like near the end, the shield gets destroyed, and then the Justice League starts showing up to help. The reason why I say keep them to the very end, because I don't want and only have them play a minor role, because here's why. I don't want a Wonder Woman game to be resolved with the Justice League showing up. If this is a Wonder Woman game, Wonder Woman ultimately has to resolve it herself. They can help her, absolutely, but it has to be her. Or, I mean, and the Wonder Girls if we're going with the 4-player co-op option. If this game is similar to StarCraft with Kerrigan, the Blades, would you? I've never played StarCraft, so I can't really like weigh in on that, Tavia. Warner Brothers, when anyone but Batman gets it. I know. But so what do you guys think of my Wonder Woman game? Do you guys have anything that you would like to add? Anything you think I'm forgetting? Like Cameron brought up Blue Snowman, Dr. Cyber, and Angleman for a side mission, or like an Easter egg that you can find on the map, like maybe like action figures or like comics that you can find throughout the mascara. Like what you can do, you can make it where like Cersei raided the royal library and like scattered books throughout the island, and when you find them, they're Wonder Woman comics, like famous ones. So you could like do that. That's how I would handle that. Would there be an action adventure level on where Olympus is included with Hades? Who's maybe I would say maybe that's possible. That'd be an interesting way. I think that'll be part of the combat system. I think Johnny Tong says that one of them should be a Witcher style 3. Yeah, I think so too. And yes, of course, there would be a god level Donjay. Like maybe this is where you learn like the origins of Cersei and stuff. And like I know that Wonder Woman knows it, but maybe like she explains it to the audience, or the other, or like when the gods does. So that's kind of what you could do with that. And let's see what else. What else can we really do? I'm gonna take off my hoodie because it's really hot. Hang on. Okay, that's much better. All right. Let's see. Well, what other things do you guys think should be in a Wonder Woman game? Any characters I'm missing? You should team up with guys. Yes, and you could have it where they like have a special attack where like Cersei where Athena like bashes to the ground. Aphrodite, because she's the goddess of love, she can revive your entire team, and you can call it the blessing of Aphrodite. Hera, you can make it where after you respawn or like someone revives you, you then have like a power boost, temporary power boost. You could call that the blessing of Hera because she is very like vengeful and stuff, and so on and so forth. Would you bring in Silver Swan? Other Silver Swan, not Vanessa. She would be like another side. Vanessa would be like a side character that like helps Diane instead of being a villain, or a obsessive romantic. Like, yeah, that's the thing. Don J says, I would like to see Wonder Woman fight similar to Kratos in the. Honestly, the like parry system, the Arkham combat system could work, except this time you can make it more brutal. In terms of like, would I use blood? I would say, yeah, I'd say blood, but not. I wouldn't have her like dismember, but I would say whenever she like slashes someone with a sword, yeah, there's blood. I would go with that. I wouldn't have it go like too gory. Basically, the way I would do it, if I have to go it's for like blood and gore, violence, obviously, and maybe one of the other characters swears. That's it. It's not gonna be like crazy. No nudity. What else do you guys think? What other Wonder Woman like ideas do you guys want to see represented? What type of characters? What have you got? What have you got? Enemies. Would you bring a Medusa? Again, DLC. I say DLC because again, I would say keep it to that one, and then as you can make it where like Medusa's in this cave that you have to fight, and then as you travel throughout the cave, you it kind of like a dungeon raid. As you progress through the, for lack of a better term, dungeon, you learn more about Medusa's background. Same thing if you want to fight the Minotaur, and then you can redeem the Minotaur, and then he becomes Ferdinand. There you go. I included Ferdinand this game, and and that way you could also use the game to teach Greek mythology. You can weigh in on that side of Wonder Woman. So there's like a lot of really, really, really cool ways you could go with this thing, I think. But so in terms of like terms of in terms of like editions, I would have a collector's edition that maybe has like the way the like special like cool edition has comes with a statue. I say it comes with a copy of All Star 8, the first appearance of Wonder Woman, or comes with maybe it comes with an exclusive trade that like includes like seminal issues in Wonder Woman's history. Redeem characters like Chi and Giganto with diplomacy skills with choice in the game is a that's actually a great idea. That's actually a great idea, NJ. I got it. So here's what the special edition of the game would include. A copy of this. In addition to a statue. This is the 80 years of Amazon Warrior Trade, or like something like this. Because what this does is it collects issues from Wonder Woman's beginning to relatively the modern day. That way, let me put it this way. If someone's not like a comic book fan, but is a gamer, but is interested in Wonder Woman and wants to learn more, they can actually like read this and then learn more about the comics. And then you also convert a gamer into a comic book reader. So you can have that. It should be in the special edition, and maybe an art print, or maybe do you guys want to do a statue, or do you guys want to do tiara and gauntlets? Because you could do that as well, and have the tiara have like a badass stand, and the gauntlets are crossed behind it. You could do that. There is that as an option. Although it's just Wonder Woman doesn't get that many statues, so I'm like, I kind of really want to see that. Don J says, I would want to see side quests where Wonder Woman could shoot out enemies out of the sky using her invisible jet. You could, although I think she would probably use a bow and arrow in that case. That would be more of the bow and arrow part of the game. How about adding in both? Then that gets expensive, Terry. That's the thing. It's like how expensive. I mean, it depends on how good the statue is. Yeah, we could include both. Let's say for a moment we include both, and then there you go. And then yeah, it's like it includes like a Wonder Woman trade that like has all of her like seminal issues. That way as like a sampler, so that people that are interested after playing the game can pick it up and stuff. Would Cersei be the final boss? Yes, yeah, absolutely. Once you get to like the third act of the game, it's like you can make it look like the raid where you go floor to floor and you fight you fight the 4 villains on the last 4 like levels, and the final one it's where it's against Cersei 110%, and then again you could choose to imprison her, or maybe even like if you have like maxed out diplomacy skills, you can redeem Cersei, or like have her turn away from being a villain or something like that. And then she basically becomes absolute Cersei in that way. So you could like really play around and homage everything. By the way, absolute Wonder Woman is 100% becoming a costume in this game. 100%. That has to be a costume. So that's something you can do with that. What else do you got? Speaking of other villains, would you try and bring I don't want to overcomplicate it though. I don't want to overcomplicate it because Kronos and Typhon are not exactly Wonder Woman like exclusive villains. I want to expose as much as of Wonder Woman's world into the game. So that's kind of where I want to go with that. Because otherwise that's just gonna like overcomplicate stuff with stuff that's like not like essential to the game. So that's kind of what I'm going with here. So, what other questions do you guys have about a Wonder Woman game? What other good point? Because those characters are great. Yeah, they're not just Wonder Woman. So I was like, not really that in tune with adding that. What else you guys got? What other characters do you think should be included? What other storylines should be homage? Whatever you guys feel like adding in, let's do this. Let's add this to the Wonder Woman game soup. I also like Zatanna to make an appearance on Themyscira and help Diana in a mission of the story. I always love their dynamic. That would work too. That would work too. It really just depends on what you want to go with, but I think that could work and could be really fun. I'm cool with that. Cool with that. I personally, I'd see Wonder Woman and Zeus teaming up to fight Darkseid. Darkseid is not a villain in the game. Darkseid is not a villain in the game, though. So I'm like, if we're talking about in terms of this game, not really into doing that. So that's kind of where I'm leaning on that. What else do we got, guys, in terms of questions, in terms of why Wonder Woman would not get a game, or so that's kind of where I wanted to leave it, because in terms of like in terms of like, is there potential there? Do I think we'll get a Wonder Woman game eventually? Yeah, I do. I honestly do. Because like the potential is like what is just there. The only question is when, and that could take a while. Travel into space just briefly, just to show she can. Yeah, exactly. Just to show how awesome Diana is. See, Tom King, this is how you show people why Diana's awesome. How would you do a roguelike game for Wonder Woman? That's another conversation right there. But I guess just what would be an example of a roguelike game? Oh, like that. Oh, like those little I see what you're talking about. I wouldn't, because I'm not a big fan of those. I personally would not. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a big fan of that type of game, so I really wouldn't. But yeah, so that's really how I would build a Wonder Woman game, and like again, the potential that is there, and you could put it. Do you think the contract will be resolved soon? Yeah, I think honestly, if Gunn is serious about doing like Wonder Woman in the DCU at all, he needs to get that resolved. I guarantee you, for the DCU sake, he is probably currently working with the Marstons to like establish, hey, can we actually make this work? Because otherwise, you're gonna essentially like because you're gonna make the character like, I don't want to say irrelevant, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like that. They really need to resolve that contract, because then there's barely anything Wonder Woman can appear in, and that is horror. That arguably does more harm than good to the character. So that's what I'm gonna give you for that. Oh yeah, we definitely need an animated series as well. We definitely need an animated series. But I think that is an excellent place to leave this episode. This was a great one. So be on the lookout for, okay, so this is coming out. Be sure to check out Super Wonder Legacy episode, the episode that's out now. In fact, I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can check that out, where Britt and I analyzed the new 52 Wonder Woman and discussed if it was good, discuss why we think it is underrated. So be sure to check that out. And in terms of this week's Super Wonder Legacy, we are going to be discussing, we're going to be having a special Mother's Day celebration stream where we talk about all the famous moms from throughout the DC universe. And then let's see what else. And then for obviously I have Amazon Answers, my Wonder Woman question and answer show on Sunday, so we're gonna be doing that. Wonder Woman Wednesday, I gotta figure out what I want to do, and it's the same thing for movie night. But yeah, okay. So I will see you guys later. Stay heroic. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. Steve Trevor, Steve Never. He belongs 6 feet in the ground. She belongs with General Zod. So is the Max About for Life. See you later. We are the Comics League. Stay heroic.